little bit, not much. So, and once again, we have these cheat sheets. So if you're working with OpenAPI and you want this kind of reference card, we have some cheat sheets here in the front. Please get one. And with that, I am done. Adil, so if I can ask you to please here. So next up we have Adil Ali, and please a warm welcome to Adil, who volunteered on very, very, very short notice to kind of you've given that talk before at the event, right? So,
exactly.
But it's a good one. So it talks about the usage of OpenAPI and OpenAPI descriptions. So take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Eric. There you go. Doing this?
Whatever, you have to switch that one on if you want to use
I want to use this. And you can take this. Hello everyone. Is it working? Yes, working now. So thanks for joining in, and I know it's pretty late, second day, almost the last session, and pretty interesting one. OpenAPI has been my favorite session to attend. Thanks to Eric for running it for a long time now. So this is an old talk which I gave, I think last year somewhere, but still the OpenAPI secrets a lot of people don't know, so still relevant. So I am Adil Ali, the founding CEO of APIDays, a company based out of New Zealand, not very far from here, but it's also based in the US and other parts of the world. So OpenAPI secret. Let me begin with a quick question. Which of the machine readable API definition formats have you seen or have you used? OpenAPI, there's a session for it, right? RAML, Postman, Insomnia, API Blueprint, Waddle, WSDL, IRDocs, HAR, Google Discovery. So these are all the formats. When I was doing my PhD, I actually did discover, went through all of them, the evolution of them, and I'm quite glad, and it was a surprise as well that the industry converged to a format which is OpenAPI. Because at 10 years ago, we used to have a big competition. Like every vendor had their own formats, and so if somebody like a customer wanted to move from one API management to another one, the big problem was the lockdown of the API definition, and they used to come to us, can you please transform our formats to others? So that used to be a business back then as well, using API transformer. So 8 years ago in 2016, I presented an analysis of 11,000 API definitions, and look at this. There was no OpenAPI back then, but Swagger was there, and which was the mostly used interface description format. And there was API Blueprint as well, RAML as well, and Google Discovery was a big one. So anybody familiar with API Transformer? Good. So it used to transform between different formats, and till date I think we have transformed over 1 million definitions, and it's all free, it's for community. So in case you want to, I don't think so in OpenAPI world we need to transform between formats, but in case you want to transform Postman into OpenAPI or vice versa, you can use that. So you can also go on the blog and read about the specification trends and some insights, such as which of the formats are more popular. For example, like Postman, when we saw in 2021, a lot of developers brought that in to Transformer. Similarly, Insomnia gained a lot of popularity between 2019 and 2022, and the old ones going down. And we can see as API Blueprint, API company behind it is no more and RAML and WADL, the usage is declining because more and more people are going towards OpenAPI. All right, so why do we care about this data? All of it. Because APIDays is a code generator, it's an SDK generator. And the quality of SDK depends on the quality of the input. So if you bring garbage in, you will get garbage out. So RAML, API Blueprint, OpenAPI, the quality of it is quite important. And the more we are going towards the AI-based, AI-driven code generation, the quality of your API description matters more than ever. Because if you do not care to properly define OpenAPI, you will not get the desired results. So the problem we have seen, like top 10 reasons for invalid API specifications, like top 3 are unresolvable references, some are invalid YAML, JSON, XML syntax, and sometimes there are component type mismatches. So you can read blogs about like what are the common mistakes developer makes in their OpenAPI 3 files. The top one is again undefined reference components, what mistakes they were making in API Blueprint files, what mistakes they are doing in RAML files, and lastly, if you are using Postman collections, how can you improve that to generate code out of it? So that brings us to the real problem for a code generator or AI is a valid definition. From standard standpoint, the definition is valid. It will pass the linting, it will pass the validation, but it will produce bad code because the specification is not written from the perspective of generating code. So you can miss a few things which will not create good code. And I'm going to show some like 7 secrets which you can take care while describing your OpenAPI so that it can generate good code. So I'm going to give you a real world example. Anybody know what are we seeing here? This is the shadow of a solar eclipse on Earth from 1,000,000 miles away. There is a satellite by NASA called Discover, which is placed on a Lagrange point. There are 5 Lagrange points. Anybody knows about Lagrange points? Awesome. Yeah. So we're the gravitation. Yeah, please.
It just cancels out.
Yeah, cancelled out or equal to each other. So there is a Lagrange point L1, which is 1,000,000 miles away from Earth, and it's between Sun and Earth. So there is a Discover satellite which gives every day like a dozen of photos which you can see Earth from that by accessing that API. Isn't it so cool? Simply you can go and see that, and if you want to see it more, there is a blog I wrote a while ago. So you can simply go and see those views. And we can see some nice phenomena. For example, look at this. This is the back side of the moon because the front side is phase locked with Earth. We always see the front side of the moon. But from that satellite, you can actually see the back side of the moon as well. See? A beautiful use case of APIs. So when I imported this NASA's EPIC API into our validator at APIMatic, I found 3 errors, 6 warnings, 22 linting issues. Pretty small API, but like, some. So it was not fit for code generator. But when I pasted the same API in Spectral, I'm sure a lot of you know Spectral, which is also a linter. Spectral found it okay because the API definition was valid. The strict checks were for code generation. And let me give you an example. So the first secret I'm going to tell about is say no to inline schemas. Anybody knows inline schemas? What are those? Awesome. So you describe parameters inside others, right? So you don't describe them outside or globally. So for example, all of these images got image quality type. For example, you can have as PNGs, as thumbnails, or JPEG, and these are part of again an endpoint. So every endpoint got image quality. So if you do this code first approach, sometimes you get image quality defined as an enum which is inside the endpoint. So it's totally fine, you can define that, but imagine like if you have 100 of endpoints, so every time it will be repeated, your file get also like quite bulky, and the problem a code generator will do, it will create, because there was nothing defined, it will create image quality 1, image quality 2, and you can see image quality 100, and all contain the same definition. So it will produce a bad code. It's not a production level code. So inline schemas, if you want to generate code out of your API specification, do not use them. Use global variables. That's how you use it and how you can reference it on the right side. Alright, second, don't miss operation IDs. Sometimes when we define endpoints, operation IDs are optional. For example, you can see over here, there is no operation ID, there is no summary that returns all dates when images are available. But when you generate code out of it, what will happen? The summary becomes the function name, and it's not looking good, right? Return all, yeah. Yeah. So imagine using that in production. So a very easy fix is to define operation ID as get available images dates, right? So although it's optional, but if you are producing code, if you want to generate code, please don't miss operation ID. Secret number 3, mind the characters in operation IDs. So in OpenAPI definition, they do not restrict you from describing like special characters, asterisk and adds. But if you want to generate code out of it, they will parse these special characters out, and you will get them like get images date. So all the special characters are out, and you can see it without it. And when you are generating them more and more, then the value becomes much more obvious, because it's recommended to follow common programming naming conventions, and you do not use asterisk within a function name, right? So if you are going to define operation IDs, please try to follow the convention and just do not use special characters over there. Okay, so that's the third one. Fourth secret, avoid schema key confusion. So it's similar to the third one. And what does it mean? That if you have special characters like brackets and commas, they will be parsed out by a code generator, and your class name becomes pretty ugly, and it will become just like it will just remove everything, all the special characters. So instead of defining it, what you can do, you can give it a proper name without any special characters. All right, some minor yet important considerations are, keep the parameters in order. So whenever you're describing optional parameters and mandatory ones, so which ones we keep on top? Mandatory ones, right? But OpenAPI, the standard does not stop you from describing the optional one on top. The problem will be when a code generator will parse them, the order will be completely messed up. So they will go up and down, and again, when you're using the code in production, you can see some unexpected order over there. So the simple fix is, you can simply define the mandatory ones first and keep the optional ones later on. Okay. Secret number 6, very long names hurt user friendliness. So again, OpenAPI doesn't stop you from describing long names, but if you do it, then your function names become super big. Search images archived by year or month or day or quality or image or title, you can simply define as search archive, right? Okay. And the last one, operation tags are helpful, and again they are optional, but if you tag your operations, then it can help you group different endpoints together. So for example, natural color can be defined as a tag inside your definition. Okay, so these are the parts of OpenAPI, right? Which you can, some considerations which you can think of while describing the OpenAPI. But anybody here generating SDKs out of your OpenAPIs? Cool. So if you see that like top APIs such as Stripe or Twilio, their SDKs contain things which are not part of OpenAPI. For example, forced retries, exponential backoffs. Why? Because OpenAPI can describe, for example, if you look at the 4 layers of SDKs beyond API wrappers, you can see different layers. And OpenAPI or any API definition can only cover the inner circle over here, such as endpoints code, models code, error handling, or authentication. We call them API wrappers. But if you want to go beyond that, if you want to add developer experience features such as optimized error message, configurable loggers, metadata within request, then you have to add all those things on top of OpenAPI. And there are ways to do it. And if you are seriously considering generating SDKs out of OpenAPI, so please consider these things, and you can again read blogs and read books about that. And the final bits of my presentation, how to validate specs for generating code. So there is again a free tool released by APImatic. So there's a VS Code extension. I will give you the link. And if you want to validate your API specs for code generation, you can use it for free. And as I mentioned, the first problem, inline schemas. If you have inline schemas, you can also automatically fix them. How? Let me quickly show you. So this spec contains a lot of inline schemas, around 40 it has found. So there's a button, fix my spec. I'm click on it. So now it's automatically fixing them. So what it's doing, just taking them out and creating global parameters. And after revalidating, all 40 inline schemas have been converted. Right? So now you can generate good code out of it. So there are other things as well which you can fix using this VS Code extension. All right. So that's pretty much it. I have added some links over here for the validator, for the API trends, for the NASA API, and if you really want to learn more about SDKs, how to write, your open APIs to create best SDKs, you can read this book as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for the nice presentation. I have one question. Did you ever come across the problem dealing with polymorphism in code generation, specifically around any of, one of?
Yeah. Yes.
That's still bugginess in our SDK generation. So, your solutions?
Well, use a code generator which tackles polymorphism, one of, any of, in all the languages. Yeah. So if you want to try it out, you can bring your API specification. Again, I can shamelessly plug my company in. You can try APImatic. We handle all of the cases.
Any other questions for Adil? Yes.
I'm just wondering, how can we handle application-specific metadata document on OpenAPI?
Sorry, I don't know how to. Sorry. I don't know. Yes, I say again, please.
How to handle application-specific metadata in OpenAPI?
Application-specific metadata. I don't know.
There is an extension mechanism, right? So OpenAPI is extensible. So there even is a registry, which is not very well maintained, I would say, but the OpenAPI initiative has a registry where there are some kind of widely used extensions in there. that's one of the things that we try to improve with future versions, that the extension mechanism is a little bit more well defined and that people actually register their extensions. But even in the current versions, there is an extension mechanism. So if you want to add something to the description, you can just use that. Nobody else will understand it, right? But it's possible to do that. And then also, just last word, so if you then want to remove that before you give it away, because maybe there also are delicate things in there, right? Then the overlay specification, for example, could help you and say, before I ship this to somebody else, strip out all these extensions and then ship it to somebody else.
Yeah, what kind of application are you talking about?
Just our internal application. So we are writing API for our customers, and it's consumed internally.
Yeah, extensions can solve that. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're out of time. But if you have extra questions for Il, I think you cannot ask him because he needs to get to the airport.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting a call. I have a flight in a couple of hours. I have to rush. Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.